Story time, my gym teacher's wife found out that he was having an affair with me. So a little background information. I was a sophomore in high school, and the one night my friends and I were playing Truth or Dare. Well, a little bit into the game, my friends dared me to download Tinder and message the first 5 guys that I saw. And what do you know, the last guy that I saw on there was my gym teacher. So obviously I messaged him and I was like, hey, OMG, it's blah, blah, blah from your 3rd period class. And obviously I wasn't expecting him to answer, but he did, and he was like, oh, this is weird. How are you? So after that, my friends were like, oh, okay, like it's time to delete it. So I pretended that I did, and when they left, I started messaging him more. So we had been messaging that whole week, and one thing led to another. Next thing I knew, he was sneaking me out of my house at 2 a.m. And he was like 32, so he wasn't that old. Well, for the next month, we were going to restaurants that were like an hour away. Almost every weekend, he would rent out a hotel for us. Well, the one night, his wife was supposed to be out with some friends. So he invited me over like for part 2. Part 2 about how my gym teacher's wife found out that he was having an affair with me. So like I said, his wife was supposed to be gone the whole night because she was at the bar with her friends and they were supposed to get in a hotel. So he invited me over. So we went swimming in his pool, then we did the nasty. Well, a few hours later, him and I were sitting on the couch watching a movie. And his wife kept calling him. But he just kept ignoring it, saying that she was fine and he didn't want to answer the call and ruin our time together. So we go upstairs, lay down to go to sleep. And it's like 4 a.m. at this point. So I shit you not, literally an hour later, I wake up to his wife carefully shaking me to wake me up. And she goes, honey, come downstairs. I don't want to wake him up. He has work tomorrow. And I'm like, what the actual fuck? So I went downstairs and she's like, sit at the table with me. So we're sitting at the table and she's like, I hope that we can keep this quiet. She was like, my husband's done this before. And that she can't have any of her friends knowing or anybody at school because she's a PTA mom. So she offered me money to keep my mouth shut. And then she let me go back upstairs and lay with him. What the fuck?
Okay, so on my FYP lately, I've been seeing so many videos of like, watch my husband fall out of love with me, which is exactly what I watched happen whenever I went through my pregnancy with my boyfriend's child. So in December of 2019, I found out that I was pregnant and I was so excited. And my boyfriend was overjoyed. We literally had one of the best relationships during this time. But once COVID hit in 2020, I ended up getting laid off of work. He continued to work, but I felt like it was pointless for me to find another job just because I was about to have a baby and raise a kid. And in April, we get to find out the gender, and guess what? It was a boy. I was extremely happy, but then I just started to notice that he stopped caring. Like, I would be like, hey, the baby is kicking, and he would just be like, okay. Completely monotone, completely blank face. Then June comes around and I ended up gifting him an iPhone 11 Pro Max. Since it was under my name, I had access to see who could text and call him. And I know a lot of his family's numbers, including cousins and aunts, but there was one number that I didn't recognize that stood out the most. And the messages between him and this number would not stop until 3 a.m., which is when he would go to sleep. So I decided to go up and ask him who is more important than me and his son. Storytime part 2 on my boyfriend cheating on me with his coworker and his ex. So his response to me asking who is more important than me and his son is, no one, babe. I just said okay, and a couple months go by and I go into labor. He's not even excited and doesn't even try to care. A few months later, and I see that number pop back up again. And I also noticed that there was an exchange of pictures going on. So I decided to call the number up and be like, hey, who is this? How do you know my boyfriend? And she responded with, who is this and why do you need to know this because I'm with him? I was bawling and I tried to confront him on it, but he literally denied it. And then he threatened me because I don't work that he would take my son away and get full custody. And because of all this crap, I just shut up and agreed to make it work for our son. And then not even a few weeks later, I see that number pop back up again and I lose my ish. Now, I don't condone violence, but the second that this man got home, I was so upset that I ended up punching him and he fell into the wall. I went through his phone and ended up finding out that he was also talking to another girl as well. So I whipped the phone around in his face and I was like, who is this?
I found out my husband was sleeping with my sister. And here's the full story. No, I didn't find them sleeping together. No, I didn't find any text messages. A little backstory. Ben and I have been together for 10 years and have been married for 3 years. So it's not like it's a recent relationship. Honestly, I wouldn't care. Good thing we didn't have any kids because I would not know how to deal with that. Everything started getting weird after we got married. He was always tired from work. He would never want to spend time with me on his days off. He would actually leave me to go spend time with his friends, which was a lie. Well, at one point, I got sick of it and I started asking him questions. Like if he still wanted to be with me, did I do something wrong? Even though I knew I didn't do anything wrong, but you never know. But he would always avoid answering me. A year and a half after our marriage, it started getting even weirder. He wouldn't leave his phone laying around, and every time he was on his phone, he would hide it from me. And that's when my gut feeling started. I decided to download Tinder, Bumble, Grindr, every dating app out there. I made multiple profiles of different women. I'm running out of time. Follow me for part 2. I found out my husband was sleeping with my sister, part 2. I made multiple profiles on all of these dating apps, and these profiles were from women that are very, very close to me, my best friends and my sisters. Because listen, it's always someone close to you. At least that's why I like to think. Setting up all those accounts took too long, but it was definitely worth it. I only found him on one dating app, and that was on Bumble, and he matched with my sister. I decided to start the conversation with, "Hey Ben, that's so awkward, we matched." It took him about 2 days to answer me back because he was off on those 2 days. Apparently he deletes the app on his days off, and then when he gets back to work, he installed them again. His first message to my sister was, "Hey, I miss you so much, I can't believe we stopped talking." I decided to go with it, and I said, "Just talking?" He said, "Of course not. You know what I mean. I miss your body. I miss everything about you." Long story short, I waited for him to get home from work. I showed him the messages. I decided to get a divorce, and I also got everything. Do you guys want to know what she did to her sister? Follow me and comment.
This is a story time of why I don't eat at other people's house no more. Me and my best friend, we were like 11 or 12 at the time, and we were having a sleepover at her house. We had hung out outside of school many times before. This would just be the first time I went over to her house. My mom drops me off and just lets me walk inside. When I went up to the door, my best friend answered, and she was like, "Hey, can you grab a shoe?" Immediately, I could tell that the house wasn't very clean, but I knew it wasn't her fault. It's not because she asked me to grab a shoe. I could see behind her and could tell that the house was just really messy. It really did look like an episode of Hoarders, but I grabbed a shoe and I helped her look for that fly. So it was me, my bestie, and her grandma looking for this big-ass bug. We got a little tired, so we sat down to eat something, and her grandma made us a snack. I was a little scared to eat, not gonna lie, but I didn't want to make my best friend feel bad, so I went ahead and ate my food. Well, I was only able to eat some of it because we had left the basement door open, and we saw the bug fly down there. So we stopped eating, ran down to the basement, and we saw the bug fly behind this box. We moved this box, and I swear 100 families of spiders and their ancestors started spewing out, like for part 2. This is going to be part 2 of why I don't eat at other people's house no more. Like I said, so many spiders started spewing out from behind this box. I genuinely thought that these spiders were going to eat all of us alive. It was not a fun situation. We did not run fast enough. These spiders started crawling all over us. I think I saw a lighter somewhere and considered setting myself on fire. I want you guys to imagine like my whole entire body covered up with spiders. That's what it felt like, but there was only like 5 or 6 on me. The grandma gets the blanket and starts whipping us with it. She's like trying to dust the spiders off. I see my best friend start stripping. I was a little about that, but I was like, fuck it. Anything to get these spiders off. Once we felt like we were good, we ran upstairs. My best friend started crying to me and apologizing and saying how much she hates her life and how she's so embarrassed. But I told her that all is good and this doesn't change the way that I see her at all. We have our little moment and then we sit down to eat again. And you know, I'm going in on my little SpaghettiOs. But all of a sudden, it starts getting crunchy. I ignore it and I get down to the bottom of the bowl. When I look down, there is a half-eaten spider in the bottom of the bowl. Like for part 3. This is going to be part 3 of why I don't eat at other people's house anymore. So like I said, I was munching and grunching on some SpaghettiOs. It's getting crunchy and I'm like, what's this crunch? Where's all this crunch coming from? I was like, bruh, it's probably some expired SpaghettiOs, but let me finish this bowl so my friend don't feel bad. When I got to the end and there was only some soup left, I saw a half-eaten spider. The same spiders that we had seen downstairs. My body? It started vibrating. I was shaking. I seized out. I think I passed out. This was not a good situation. I did have a phobia of spiders. I told my best friend, listen, babes, I love you. You know I love you. But this cannot go on no longer. I'm gonna have to go home. I felt like such a terrible friend, but I did call my mom. And she came to get me and she took me home. I told her what happened and she was upset with my friend's grandma. From then on, we only had sleepovers at my house. And ever since my family found out about her living situation, we would go over there sometimes to help them clean. We would bring food and games. I'm grown now, but me and this girl ended up falling out because of some drama.
Story time about how my entire family found out I had an OnlyFans. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. My family is super strict on me. My dad was so strict. I couldn't even have girlfriends growing up. Like, I couldn't have kids over. I couldn't go to anyone's house. It was the worst. Daddy's ears would even check my emails and my cell phone every single day. So when I turned 18, I moved the heck out of that house. So of course I needed to earn money, and I found out that one of my friends had an OnlyFans and she was trying to convince me to use it so that I could sign up with her link. Part of me just wanted to really piss off my dad, so I signed up. And guess what? Within a week, I had about 60 followers charging $9 a month. You do the math. See, my dad was paying for my phone bill and everything at the time, so I wanted to become financially independent, and I was able to do it. So I tell my dad I don't need his financial help anymore, and he starts asking questions, but I wasn't giving him any information. Later on that night, my phone starts acting weird. Go to part 2.